Hello and welcome to All For United with me, John Foster at MUFC. This is our first match reaction, weekend review kind of show. Man United 2, Reading 1. Excellent.
Yeah.
Leah Galton, highly lad. Natalie, how you feeling, mate?
Oh, absolutely happy. You know, at 1-1, you're thinking, oh, God, here we go again. Like, what are we going to do? But bang, she comes up. Hayley, lad, I'm so happy. You know, leaving there. We have never beaten Reading away from home. We've beaten them at home, but we've never beaten them away from home. And, you know, first time for everything. It's a good owners. I'm so excited for the rest of the season now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said going into the game, this is going to be our toughest game of the season coming up, and it was so tough, wasn't it? It really was. And obviously, I've calmed down a little bit now, but my thoughts was like all up and down, up and down. I was thinking about how bad the referee was. I was thinking how good Reading were on the attack, and I was thinking, are we going to get a chance? And I was worried at times, but I was up and down, and thankfully, like you say, highly lad, I put a little tweet out saying how much we love her for that goal. I mean, even if she just scores one goal a season, that goal has just got us an extra 2 points. You know,
so good.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great.
Last
minute as well. Last minute, like, well, not last minute, but you know, it was towards the end, and it's proper United comeback. It's good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just what we needed, and still there, top of the tree. And yeah, I'm really happy for Hayley Lad as well, because she never even gets into those areas. So yeah, I love to watch it back actually, just to see. Obviously, I know it was like a set piece, but you know, she's not usually up there, is she? So was she unmarked? I need to look at it back, and I will do at some point. Absolutely, yeah. Guys, whoever's tuning into this, thank you for watching. We have got some guests, so every Sunday night now, you guys will see it on a Monday. We're going to have 2 other guests with me and Natalie. It's going to be the same 2 guests. So we're going to introduce them right now. Our first guest is a massive Ella Toon fan, massive women's football fan, huge Man United supporter. He's got more stories to tell than Jack Grealish's Instagram posts. Let's get him on. You'll recognise him. Hello, Matt Crane. You okay, mate?
Hey, John. Yeah, not bad. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. How are you feeling after that win, mate?
Better now than I was watching it. I think, I don't know, watching it was kind of, it's one of them. Reading's always scrappy, isn't it? And I think the longer it goes on, I think sometimes, I don't know if it's like frustration or just wanting to win, and you kind of like, I don't know, you're up and down, and then you're like edge of your seat, and especially at home as well. It's like, I don't know, I find it difficult to sit still sometimes, but yeah, a lot happier now after the win anyway. And, you know, like you guys were just mentioning, you know, earlier, sort of last minute towards the end, sort of final 5, 6, 7 minutes. And I think, yeah, you know, we got there in the end. It wasn't pretty, but we got the job done and we got the 3 points.
Yeah, that's definitely, yeah. I don't know if you was on the Barmy Army Twitter much today, but I'm guessing that was popping off quite a bit, being game day and that last minute goal.
Yeah, it's game day is always one of them. It's good because we do get a lot of people kind of interacting, but like say in terms of your phone, it tends to, I don't know, what should we say, overheat. So I try and turn my notifications off on at least my own personal account, because I know the Barmy Army does get busy, and obviously the Instagram as well. So obviously we're doing bits on both myself. It's, yeah, it can get hectic, but luckily I get a day off on a match day. So it's left to Mark and Ian to take over, and, you know, they do a fantastic job of running that. So it's great, really. It just works between quite a few of us.
Yeah, and it needs to with such a big operation, and yourself thorough in what the Barmy Army, not just the Twitter, but the Instagram and the YouTube. There's so much going on there. It takes a lot of preparation that people don't realise do that behind the scenes. So there's a lot of work that goes into it, and Matthew played a massive part in that, as does Mark and Deb and everybody else as well. Our fourth guest, who's going to be on here very regularly, massive Kirsty Hansen fan. Last time he was on the show, I think he said something along the lines of Tooney was an ace up her sleeve. He says, I don't think there's a better crosser of the ball than Kirsty Hansen. And he says, I don't think he's seen anyone naturally as gifted as LJ for years. So that guy is Ben. Hello, Ben.
How we doing, boys? How we doing, boys and girls? We good?
I'm good, mate. How are you, mate? You okay?
Buzzing, mate. Buzzing. That was. I think we exercised a ghost there. If you get my meaning, I think we've proven we can scrap and win. Scrappy, you know. I thought maybe not scrappy, because I don't think our performance is all that scrappy. But in terms of last season, the season before, we'd have struggled away from home against Reading. We would have maybe come away with a point, or we'd have maybe lost the game. Maybe we feel frustrated that we're not picked up the maximum points. But I think today, job done, mate. We proved that we can scrap, we can stand up, we can go toe to toe with teams that maybe try and outmuscle us, to try and be too physical against us. I just think we've just really, really done well today in terms of getting them 3 points that keeps us top of the league.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Nat? What Ben just said? Because like this time last season, we would have struggled, wouldn't we? Not just against Reading, but games where we probably won now, we would have drew. And even Aston Villa, when we played them, we weren't at our best. That might have been a game where we would have drew. We're getting the results, we're getting the wins.
Well, about around this time must have been definitely December. We went ahead, and we've beaten them this season away from home. But we went ahead at West Ham, and we ended up losing that game because we ended up going ahead and within 10 minutes and losing it. And I think, like what Ben says, we've exercised a ghost. I think around, I don't know when, but we went to Reading and everyone's seen it because it went viral. That handball that went off her head, went off Selim's head, and little things that Reading do. They're very, very physical, very, very scrappy, and they did play some good football, though, to be fair to them. But I just think we were equal to it. I think there was times where we got nervous with the defending, and potentially, when they had equalised last year, we might have, thrown that away. But I feel like this year, the mentality is a lot different. They'll fight it out to the end. They'll grind out them results. And I think people are saying things like, I saw a journalist and, saying things like, oh, it's not good to watch. And I'm thinking, we're just here for the 3 points, the other game, the derby with the men, it wasn't great to watch. But if we had got a 1-0 at the end, everyone would have been buzzing. So I just think, let us enjoy the 3 points. We're top of the league. I mean, that's all you can ask for a team. It's about 2.5 years old. And, we're top. Arsenal are dropping points. Chelsea is doing scrappy wins. City, we came back against them. So I think we're up there. We're going to, I know I said on our other show, John, we're going to win the league. And I said it so confidently. And last week I wasn't as confident, but I said, I think, we're going to be in Champions League 100%, these girls. And if the league, that's the cherry on top, and to do it within 2.5 seasons would be absolutely amazing. Don't think anyone's done it like that before. There'll be Man United to do it, so
has to be us, definitely. Matt, I mean, that we just done about that journalist. I mean, I don't know who you're referring to, but we was talking just before you came on, Ian, while Matt was putting his flag up for the past half an hour. we were just talking about. There's still comments out there, even though we're top of the league, this, that, and the other. There's still people out there who are trying to spot faults and stuff, and we're never going to get 10 out of 10 performances week in, week out, are we? I mean, Matt, what are your thoughts on that before we get into the actual game itself? I mean, to me, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know me and you and sort of me and Ben had a chat on Twitter sort of after the game, and I think it's one of them, we've all, I mean, the four of us, and everybody else, we've all agreed that, criticism, okay, is fair enough if warranted and if backed up with reasons. I think there's quite a lot of people these days that are just throwing it out, and it's like, what you're backing it up with now? Obviously, if you're backing it up with facts and evidence and the same things are happening consistently, then, no problem. And I think, we can all say criticism where valid and where not, too aggressive and over the top. But I think, I've seen comments today, criticising Hayley Ladd. She's just won us the game. She assisted the goal. And it's like, you're saying, well, she shouldn't be playing. It should be this player. It should be that player. And it's like, the starting 11 at the minute picks itself. The players that are in deserve to. And it's up to those players that are out of the team, to train hard, to, take the chance when given it. And I think sometimes it's just disappointing. Hayley's just one example. I think, we've seen... I mean, today, for example, take the goal that we conceded, bit of a deflection off Millie. And it's like, people have jumped straight for Mary. And it's like, why are we jumping? Like, you said we're top of the league. Okay, the performance may have been scrappy, it may not have been what we used to normally. But listen, that's Reading. That's how it's always been. Just think, for me, sometimes, just enjoy the win. Like Nat said earlier, we've not won there. This is the first time we're sitting top of the league. We're unbeaten. It's nearly Christmas, January, yes, it's going to be tricky. But I think, for me, January could really define the season with the Chelsea and the Everton game. I think, let's just be together. Like I said, criticism okay when it's valid, when it's needed, not a problem. This is not me saying don't criticize, but there's a time and a place, and it needs to be done in the right manner. But I think to hammer a player that has won us the game and got an assist as well, I mean, what more do you want, players to do? I just think, just have a day off for a little while. We can all be guilty of criticizing, but I'd like to think most of us do it in the correct manner. But sadly, today I've seen 3 or 4 of the same players each week get absolutely slated, and it's just baffling to me, really. I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah, just at least wait until we lose, or lose 2 or 3 on the trot. But
yeah,
top of the league. Oh yeah, that's just better. To me, I'm laughing at it because I just think it's nonsense, and I think a lot of the Man United women's fans know it's nonsense, but it's just worth mentioning because obviously we've been on Twitter. That's all it is. And speaking about that, obviously we've got a lot of comments on Twitter that we're going to mention throughout the show, towards the end of the show. So thank you to everybody who will be joining in. We're not live, which is a pre-record, but that doesn't mean that we don't want to involve you. So throughout game day, if you want to tag any of us 4 on Twitter with a comment or use the hashtag Ask the Barmy Army, just do all that, and then we'll find out your comments before we go do this record, and we'll involve as many people as we can. And Ben, have you got any thoughts on that regarding the criticising of players, even though I'm top of the league and winning games? It's crazy to me.
It's just daft, mate, really, to be honest with you. I think for the goalkeeping one, by the way, I don't understand it, mate. These players, I said it. I think I said it a while back. I don't know if it was on this one or one of my own videos. Goalkeeper is the hardest position you can play on a football field, and it's the easiest position that everybody can criticise. For me, if you look at the shot, the way Fishlock takes the shot, I don't think that Mary Earps can see the shot. I think there's bodies in the way. So what she's watching, as a goalkeeper myself, if you've got bodies in front of you, you can't see the ball. You are watching the player as well. You're keeping an eye on the player, keep one eye on the player, and you look at the body shape. And as Fishlock's gone to shoot, she's going to bend it to the right-hand post, which is Mary's left-hand post. So Fishlock's right-hand post, as she's looking at it, and Mary's left-hand post. Mary, I don't think, can see that ball. So what she's done, she's made it. Sometimes you have to make a little bit of a guess. So you're judging the body shape and where you think the ball's going to go. So Mary knows as soon as she sees Fishlock about to shape up to shoot, she knows she's going to go to Mary's left-hand post. So Mary's made that up in her mind. So as soon as she struck the ball, Mary's already going down to the left-hand post. And as it's coming through, it's took us. And I saw somebody say, "Oh, it took a slow deflection roll in the back of the net." But has anybody actually ever jumped to one side? And I mean proper jump to one side. Gravity doesn't hold you up. Gravity pulls you straight down. She's already going down to her left. She's anticipated that original shot is going to her left-hand post. So she's accurately guessed. Well, not guessed, but she's accurately made up her mind that that's where Fishlock's going to put the ball. And you can't adjust your body when you're like halfway down to then go back the other way, if you know what I mean. Your whole weight is already going down to your left-hand side. I just think it's daft. If she was stood up straight, or she was just about to sort of, as a sort of 20-degree angle, yeah, you can adjust your body, you can keep on your toes. But she was already getting down to the left-hand post. Had it not taken deflection, had it not took that deflection off Millie Turner, that ball would have been comfortably saved by Mary Earps, and then there wouldn't have been a problem. I just don't get it, mate. I just think people don't understand the basic fundamentals of the game sometimes. And unless you've played in a certain position, no matter what level it is, whether it's amateur, five-a-side, semi-pro, professional, whatever it may be, unless you play that position week in, week out, especially the goalkeeping position, I find it astonishing that people can criticise goalkeepers when you don't know the thought process. Sometimes, or you may not be aware of the thought process, I think is a better word. I just think it's sometimes absolutely daft that we try and pick any fault to try and get someone new in or try and get someone's favourite in. If they made a mistake, hands up. I think the one at West Ham where the ball loops over her head from Rachel Daly, I think she was a bit flat-footed on that one. I think if she was more to a 20-degree angle on her toes, she could have then shifted back and then probably tipped it over the bar. I think she was a little bit straight on, a little bit depthful for that one. That one you could possibly pick a fault on, even though it was a freakish shot because it was a cross. But I just think it's daft, man. Just because they want new players in and that. We all want improvement and we all want to get to the next level and everything. But to constantly hammer players, Lucy Staniforth's another one, constantly hammered on Twitter, and it's the same people every week. It's like, do you watch the games or do you just type away on social media because you want like your favourites to start or whatever? I just think it's daft, mate.
Yeah, that's 100%. So do I, and I would love to go to their workplace and pick up every fault that they do because I'll probably get them the sack in a week. You know, it's as simple as that. Anyway, that's all the moans out the way. We just wanted to address that because we're happy. We're sitting top. Fans can either be happy with us or they can start moaning because if you're going to moan when we're in top, mate, God knows what you're going to be like if ever we start losing. Anyway, look, we got that win. We got that winning goal. My margins was up and down. I was thinking to myself, at one point I was like really going in on the ref. I was sitting there like thinking to myself, what am I going to do? Who am I going to tweet? Who am I going to tell about how annoyed I am at the referee decisions? And we'll speak about that in a bit. But Nat, how was your emotions throughout that game? Because that winning goal has completely changed the complexion of this show right now. Because if we didn't get that winning goal, we might be a bit more critical.
Yeah, no, it's. I was just watching it and I was just like, oh my God. And you just, like you say, up and down. And like you're saying it's, I think as well, Casey's come out and said at the end wasn't good enough and this is not the performance we expect. And that's what I love to see. I love to see that with her, even with the derby when we went 2-0 down. And that was, that's probably the worst that we've ever played. You know, they absolutely battered us and should have probably been more. But she came out and said, I take full responsibility. And I think that's what you love to hear from a manager. You want to, because I think, we can say, oh, this player this and this player should have done that. But the starts and it ends with the gaffer. She says, you go out and play. She sets up the tactics. And I'm not saying, free for all on the gaffer, but I'm just saying, like, you can't fault someone if they go out there and just say, yeah, take responsibility. It's my fault. And, you can respect people more when they do that. If this sort of, I don't know if people have seen it, but the Arsenal gaffer made up excuses when we beat them. And I think you don't need that. And fans don't appreciate it when you're hearing, oh, well, if this and if the ref. And, last year, like I said, we played them and it was that handball. That wasn't a handball. But, there's times when we could have been outside in that game. And, I just think we know that the rest is rubbish. We know that this is that. We know what type of game that Reading are going to play. And I think if you, potentially going behind and, it's taking a while to come back, and Reading have a lot of chances, to basically go ahead, and we looked a bit shaky, but, she's not said, oh, this and the ref, because the ref is rubbish. He's just gone, wasn't good enough. We know our standards and, we grinded it out, and that's what I love to see. And like Ben's saying, and, Matt, I think, like you say, it would have been a lot more critical. People would have asked a bit of questions. But I think, like you say, if you can't be happy, you just got a win in the first, time away at Reading, then I did a little tweet that said fans are coming back next week potentially. We're top of the league, unbeaten streak. I think it's 12 games now. Come on, let's do it. Let's the inquest or whatever will be later, will be for the next game, and we'll think, oh, well, this could have done this. And I think Zelly played really well when she came on, and I think she was potentially part of the reason why we think. So I've been calling for her, not like to say Staniforth hasn't been going, but I've been calling for Zelly a lot. I think she sets up a lot of pre-assists, and She controls the ball well, so I'm happy when she came on, and I think she probably play the next game. I think Staniforth might be injured now. I don't know.
She looked in a bad way, didn't she? That was like that was a bit not unsettling to see, but it wasn't very nice to see, was it? The way she was, and the way she hugged Casey as she came off as well. That wasn't. That wasn't very pleasant.
Well, I think Zelly is coming back in now. Whether she plays or not, I don't know. But it's good to see her. Good to see players getting minutes and changing the game changers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it might be a case of just seeing Tooney get rested for a game or two because she played loads of games, and there's no harm in swapping and changing it, especially with the Conti Cup game coming up. Matt, going into the game, the starting in 11, it was unusual to see Hansen, Galton, and Heath all starting. In that front three. I know there was no natural number 9, but if you can imagine as a defender seeing those three running at you, I wouldn't want to be a defender.
Yeah, I think like you say there, I think half time I did actually say we do miss an out and out forward, an actual number 9. I think Leslie's out, Press is ill, Jess is, I think she was injured or only just coming back, and I think it did show. And despite that, like you said, them three, I mean, what they bring. You've got Tobin Heath, world class. Leah, best left winger in the league. She's strong, she's powerful. And the same with Hansen, again, she's strong, she's powerful. I think the only thing for me was I did say, and I'm going to chuck this out in a minute to Ben, because he obviously knows Hansen a bit better than me. But I said at half time I would have swapped Tobin and Hansen over. And the reason being, I think what Hansen does really well is she will cover the fullback really well. And we know Leah's going to do that anyway. And I think for me is that, without the out-and-out number 9, Tobin, she can produce that bit of magic and she's very skillful. And I think for me, we'd have seen her centrally, especially the first half, we might have seen, a sort of a different approach. But I'm gonna chuck that one to you, Ben. Would you agree and would you say Hansen was, suited to the central role, or would you prefer her back in a sort of natural wide right position?
I prefer out wide. I think I agree what you said though. The cover for the fullbacks as well, because she does get back and she does try and get a foot in and try and get a tackle in. And I think she's a lot more effective from being out wide. You see it when she did go out wide. She was beating players. She was getting the ball into the box. I just think if you play it as a number 9 or you're playing up top, especially on your own, you need to be streetwise. I think you need to know that role. And I think for Galton and for Hansen in particular, they're both wide forwards. They're both more effective in the wide areas. To get the best out of them, they have to be pushed out wide. And I totally agree. I think Tobin Heath would have done a far better job on the goal. Because she's far more experienced. I think she'd have a little bit of stop the ball up a little bit, maybe bring a couple of players into play a little bit more. Not saying that I don't think she did a bad job though, Hansen up top there. It surprised me. I thought it would have been. I think people were saying Galton. I thought it would have been Galton actually, to be fair, in that. But then again, you're taking away that threat from the left hand side. I think though. And I don't want to sort of be one of them people that are probably overhyping, but I think Leah Galton on her day is the best player in the league, hands down. I don't see any other players running at fullbacks, especially fullbacks, and the fullbacks are fearing the hell out of where's she going, what's she going to do? Is she going to go the outside, the inside? Is she going to meg me? Is she going to go? Is she going to come inside, get a pass away? Is she going to go right around the outside and get a cross in the box? Is she going to get a shot away? I think that she's so tricky to play against, and defenders hate it. Sometimes that's why you see they start trying to gang up. They maybe 2, maybe 3 rounder, which helps more. I think that's where we get a bit of luck with Tooney as well. If Tooney plays down the centre when she makes them late runs, it's because people are getting dragged towards Leah Galton because they know Leah is our most dangerous player when she's on her game. On her day, I don't think there's a better player running at on the opposition, proper striking the fear of God into him. And Hansen, to her credit, does exactly the same on the opposite side. But I think where Hansen is still learning the game, Leah's at that level now where week in, week out, you expect her to do something special. You expect her to make clever runs to try and unnerve defenders. And I think when Hansen gets around Leah's sort of age now, I think you'll see that you'll see the very best of Kirsty Hansen, because she'll do exactly the same. And I think Hansen's a little bit more stronger as well, as in physical strength. So she'll be able to bully opponents a little bit more on the ball and off the ball. But as I said, for me, Leah's probably the best player in the league, I'd say, on her day, when she's on absolute fire, like she has been this game and obviously the last game.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'm not just going to jump in, John, sorry. But, like, for me, I was thinking it after the game. I was just thinking, you know, everyone's going on, Viv Miedema scoring all these goals. Yeah, it's great. But could you take Viv Miedema and play a central midfield and see the same? Could you take Harder and play as a winger and see the same? For me, I think Leah is the real GOAT. I know people will debate it and all this, but she's definitely our GOAT, you know, greatest of all time. I think the fact that she's played left back, right wing, left wing. We've even seen her as centre back. Couple of last season, you know, in Oslo, and she bossed it. She was the best centre back, and it's like you can play Leah anywhere. And I'd love to see her as 10 as well. I would have loved to have seen her down the middle, because I think when she got in the middle at Villa and that ball was played through to her, it was just bang. You know, she made that space, she made that run, and it's just bang, bottom corner. And for me, Leah Galton, it's a crime that she's not rated high enough. You know, you're seeing she chose not to play for England. That's for her own personal reason. You know, no one can tell her what she can and can't do. But I think the fact that she's not playing for England, people aren't saying her name enough. Because I think for me, there's England wingers, there's England whatever, there's players that are playing for City and Arsenal and Chelsea, and Leah's just as good as them. But her name isn't getting said as much. It is by us, but like the other people, they're sort of underestimating her. I don't think defenders are, but you know, other fans probably think, oh, you know, we'll just, you know, it's just this girl, you know, who is she anyway? You know, 25 years old. No one's probably really seen her play. She played most of the time in America, and she's come to us. And I think definitely, you know, she's had her injuries because, you know, we missed her in the first half of the championship, and then we missed her second half of the season. And when she came back for that Everton game just before lockdown, she was absolutely different class, got 2 goals. And then now, start of the season, she scored versus Chelsea, but I don't even think it was one of her best. I don't think she started the season that well. And I think just now, 2 goals into getting back on the left wing, we're going to see a different quality of player. And if she can just carry on, stay fit, for me, there's no one better than Leah Galton, and there's no one I've swap her for at all.
Yeah.
I think as well with that, Nat, that kind of comes down to what you touched on before, doesn't it? You know, and you talked about mentality, and you were sort of saying between sort of last year and this year, I think now there's more mentality and belief within the squad. You know, like you said there, you know, she may not have started the best, but, you know, I think going away, working at, you know, Casey talked about it with lockdown with a few players, you know, Tuna being one, they've gone away and they've worked on the strength and the mental side of the game. And I think it's really now, like you say, we're sort of seeing those benefits. But I mean, John, what do you think? Obviously, we talked about, you know, Hansen and the front three. What do you think in terms of what I was saying before about sort of Tobin centrally, thinking more of her football brain, shall we call it?
I think the first half, I actually thought the first half was okay. I think a lot of the stuff came through her. It was the second half where she seemed a bit quiet. So what I also saw is the front three were interchanging. So they weren't constantly in those positions. They were floated around a little bit. Look, it's not going to be our first choice, but at the moment, it's probably going to be either Heath or Jane Ross in the next week. So providing Heath is still fit, then obviously being a better player, then I would put Heath up there. But I think for the Everton game, we'll probably see Ross and rest a player for the Bristol game. I just think that we've got such capabilities at the moment that any three that you play up top are capable of getting goals, and they don't need to be that rigid. I do agree that we miss a hold up, someone who can hold the ball up. I do get that. But against Everton and against Bristol, I think no matter what three, it doesn't matter what position they are, that's exciting. With Tierney, Jackie and Katie behind them, with Ona and Kirsty Smith getting up there as well. I'm not frightened anymore. I'm not thinking to myself, oh no, so-and-so's out, so-and-so's out. I'm enjoying it. And that's the strength and depth that we've got there, isn't it? And don't forget, Fuso. Is Fuso going to get their debut this week? It's got to be against Everton in the country, or it's going to be the first game in front of the fans next week.
Come on.
Go on. That's what I mean. Fuso.
I'm excited because we don't know what to expect. I think it's like, a lot of people, we watch these videos might just be getting into the team, but the way I say it is like when we signed Chicharito, and no one really knew who he was, knew what he did. But then in that first game, he was just everywhere running around. And I feel like she will be the same kind of player, She is so grateful to be here. You can see every time she posts. And when Casey was talking about it, she brings a smile to her face. She makes everyone laugh. She makes, she's got this energy, positive energy. And I think she'll be learning so much of the Americans, even like the players that like Leah. She'll be learning so much of someone like that. And developing that mentality, that winning mentality, knowing what it means to play for this club. And I'm just excited to see what she can do. I mean, the Everton game is sort of pretty much a dead rubber. I mean, we're out of the cup anyway. So I think throw Fuso on, Fuso and Ross, have two people bouncing off each other. Just do whatever in that Everton game. I just don't care what happens, really. I'd like to see people like Fuso. I'd like to see some of the young players. We've had Tara Bourne training with us for a bit, and she can play defender, she can play midfield, she plays really well in the under-21 squad. So I'd like to see her maybe get 10 minutes. I just think no one cares, but we're out of that cup anyway. So whatever happens, it is what it is. I think the big game is the Sunday game. That's when you have to play your best team, and the fans are back, so it's going to be like a party atmosphere. I think like a carnival, to be honest. I
can't wait. And getting that email as well this week. That email this week really kind of brought it home that, okay, things are moving forward now, aren't they? So fingers crossed we'll be there this time next week. Just talk a bit about the goals then. So obviously the goal, Ben, from Galton, obviously Hayley Ladd played that through ball. I think Galton ran pretty much from the halfway line, running onto the ball, and no one could get near her. The goalkeeper maybe should have done better, but let's be honest, that's Galton all over. And the amount of times that you see Galton in that position, it's rare that she misses.
Yeah, as I said before, mate, I think there's just nobody better running players with the ball at their feet than Leah Galton. That through ball over from Hayley Ladd, though, man, you have to appreciate, mate. You have to appreciate that. But from then on, it's all about Galton. It's all about, as I said, the opposition were fearing them. They were backing off. They weren't getting into it. Because the opposition is probably scared of looking foolish. If you get tight to her and then she spins you, or if they try and take her out and she goes round you, you're going to look a bit of a fool. But I think you say, should the goalkeeper have done better? Possibly, but the power of the shot, mate, take nothing away from Galton. She proper laced that for me. Make sure it was going in. I just think I think we could do that a little bit more. Just look for our players down the wide channels, because I think we'll get a lot more joy if we just maybe knock a ball a bit quicker.
Yeah,
maybe just see that through ball a bit quicker to one of the wide, but especially at Galton, because as I said, the full backs and centre halves, they fear her. When she's running with the ball, as I said before, you don't know if she's going to go outside, inside, or she could take it round you, nutmeg you. It's just, I just think that's just personifies Leah Galton to an absolute T. That's what she's all about. Running at your full back. Can I get a shot away? Can I get a cross in? And that's job's a good one, mate. For me, that's a good goal. I don't care what anyone says. Someone might say, "Oh yeah, well, the goalkeeper should have done better. The defenders were backing off. It made it too easy." But as I said, it's all down to that fear factor. She brings a fear factor with her. I don't see it too much in from other teams in terms of wide players. That's why I say I think she's one of the best in the league, if not the best player in the league for me at the minute. when she's on her phone, when she's bang on her phone, mate, she's unplayable.
You got to think as well, as a defender and a goalkeeper, the reason why they're backing off her and trying to cover all the angles is because they don't know where she's going to go. So,
exactly.
Leah's created that herself, so she's created her own space.
Exactly.
They don't want to get touch tight on her because they don't know which way he's going to go. And the reason why the goalkeeper was probably an extra yard to her left is because Leah could have gone either side. So, yeah, it's all down to Leah's work. And if you're a coach and you're showing these goalkeepers and defenders Leah Goldson's past games, you can see exactly that, like, she can go this way or the other way. So, there's no winning, and that's down to Leah Goldson's hard work. Matt, what did you think of both goals? I'm sure he jumped off his seat on the last one, but Archie did just as bad on the first one. I did. Yeah,
I mean, the last. Do you know what? The last one, I had to watch it back because I was kind of thinking, pretty similar to what you you mentioned earlier about where did Hayley come from, and I now realise somebody actually flicked it on, and it was one of them where, to be honest, that was probably the first decent corner we put in all game. If I'm being honest, I think, it was something they mentioned on the TV at half time. Chamberlain was talking about it and saying, we'd struggled to kind of put in a ball of note where somebody would attack it and test the keeper. And then I think, just it took one ball in from Tobin. Can't remember who flicked it on. And then Hayley just popped up, and it was one of them where it came from nothing because, like I said, the corners hadn't been great. But then, doesn't matter now. It's gone in. We've got that win, and it's like, again, something we've talked about for the past, season or two about being clinical. We got that chance. We had a couple before that, in the second half and the first, and Hayley took it very well. She was just there. She was alert. She was, reacted before the defender, and, happy days, job done. And I think, Ben's kind of summed up Leah's pretty well. I think as a defender, the first thing you don't want is somebody running at you, and certainly not with the speed. And the second thing you don't want is somebody that's got like the strength and the power of Leah. And I think, those combined, running at a defender with pace and power, is very frightening for a defensive point of view. And I think, I'd use the word unpredictable. You don't know whether she's going to take you on the outside, come inside. And I think she's got a nice mixture of both. We saw the last game, before lockdown last year against Everton, and she will run wide to the byline, and you think, the chance is gone, and she just hammers it, and it's either the near post or the far post. And I think, it's the kind of the hallmark for me of a great sort of wide forward player where you don't know what's going to happen. She could easily run centrally, and hit it in the sort of the top right corner and arrow it across the goal that way. It really wouldn't matter. But I think, again, it's kind of linked into something we mentioned before about those players in the middle creating space. And I think, if we can get, like say the likes of Tooney and Jackie kind of finding those gaps as a defender, it's like, right, who do I go and mark? Am I picking up runners? Am I picking up the wide player? And I think, these are great things in terms of us, but not so great, for the opposition. And I think it causes problems. And I think one thing we've found this year that we've done is we've created a better link between midfield and attack for me. I think last year we were kind of, we're finding out the league, we're finding out the level, new players came in and were, getting used to the way we play and the style of the league. And I think now things are slowly clicking. We've got that unpredictability. And like you said earlier, whichever the front three players are, it's always going to be an absolute nightmare to defend against. Yeah.
And you spoke about the tactics there. I don't think the new assistant manager gets as much, no one talks about him. Is his name Martin Ho or something?
Martin Ho, yeah. So he, so right at the start of the season, I actually, I went on a podcast, a Barmy Army podcast with Deborah and Fiona, and we sort of talked about Martin. And it's one of those where, like you say, kind of his work goes unnoticed. And I think, there's certain things I see, and I hate to compare us to what I saw, but obviously at the time it was at Everton. And it's like I say, you don't want to compare kind of United to Everton, but in terms of what you see from how we set up, so to speak, and by that I mean like things like the movement, the breaking of the lines, where players are positioned. I think that's what he brings. And I think for me, certainly, like I said, I've sort of seen what he's brought to teams and the way he's coached, and he's worked in men's academy sides as well. And I think for me, it's been really good to see him and Casey work so well together. I think obviously last year, Glenn come in, he did the job brilliant. And I think sort of, from season one, it's great that we've progressed. So we've now got a bit more flexibility. And, Casey said at the start of the season, she brought him in because she didn't necessarily want someone that's just going to be a yes man and agree. She wanted somebody to kind of challenge her to help improve her. And, obviously, he has been coaching longer than her, fair enough. And I think that's why it works so well, because she's learned so quickly and she's a very good coach and a manager. And now he's kind of brought that tactical side and that know-how. And like I say, again, it's not comparing us to Everton, but you can see the attention to detail that he brings. And I think, so far it's like you say, it slipped under the radar. But like I say, comparing it to what I'd seen from what he's brought to other teams, it's similar and it has been very effective.
There's definitely something different, isn't it? Go on, that.
Yeah, I know why you keep putting in, don't I, John? No, I remember last year. He was teaching. He was with our devs, and I know Bainey talked about him and sort of said, "Who's that guy? It's Martin O." And I said, "Yeah, he's a devs assistant." And I didn't know who he was. And Bainey's like, "He's class. Why is he not teaching our first team?" But obviously, that's what she's done. She's watched him, what he's done in the devs, what he's done in the under-21s. And he did a good job there. He's got links with them, so obviously he knows all them players in that squad pretty much. And now he's come in, and I think he needs to get a lot of credit. I mean, Glenn came in when the last assistant left us, and did well, solidified it, fourth. But I just think, we've seen it with Fergie. He brings in top quality coaches next to him. And he's not scared, you know what I mean? Some managers, they might not want them coaches because they might be worried about, them taking over from them. Whereas Casey is sort of, and people do compare to Fergie the way she's got it. And it's like, I'll bring in that top quality coach, not because thinking he's going to take my job or anything, but because, it's going to be better for this team. It's what this team needs now to take us to that next level. And he's you can see the difference. And I think it's a lot from the lockdown, a lot of the girls, but the coaching setup, and the coaching setup is just getting bigger and bigger, and it's good to see top quality coaches joining Man United Women.
100%, and you can definitely see the difference in tactics. 100%, Look, that was a real difficult game against Reading. I think you've got to take your hat off to Reading. I think, in my opinion, that was our toughest game of the season so far. I know that we won it, and Arsenal was obviously not as tough as we thought, but the City games, Chelsea game was tough. But to me, I think that was a real struggle today, but we battled through it and we got it. Matthew, you mentioned about the pace and power of our forwards. Reading's forwards had pace and power as well, and our centre-backs had a tough game. They might argue that was their toughest game of the season so far. Very tough for Millie and Amy today, but they coped with it. Any mistakes that they made, they recovered, and they got some good blocks in. How do you think our defence coped with their attack today?
Do you know what? I think, like you say, overall, defensive-wise, I think it was a big test. I think they had that young forward, didn't they, number 36, not too sure of her name. But I think, out of the forwards for Reading, she did cause us the most problems. And I think, she was quite physical as well. And I think, it brought the best out of Amy Turner, which was good to see. I think, because we all know Amy's a physical player. She loves, getting in those tackles. And I think, overall, she coped really well. I think, again, that I think might have been that young player's debut. So from that point of view, I think that's a player coming in with, a point to prove of why she should start over somebody like Danielle Carter, who, prior to her injuries was a very good forward for Arsenal and England. But I think overall, I think, that we seem to have now a set back four. Now we've got Smithy back as well. And I think for me, that's... And if I said at the start of the season, that would be my back four, Smithy, Ona, Abby, Amy and Millie. And I think slowly now we're starting to see, them kind of, to get the understanding, the gelling. We've got a nice sort of balance between speed with the fullbacks, and then the centre halves are nice and solid. And I think, I definitely agree. I think that was our toughest game, so far of the season. Reading did do kind of, it's very... like nitty gritty, isn't it? There's a lot of midfield battles, and I think all over the pitch, it's kind of you need to be on your toes. You know what you're going to get. The physical as well. They try and press you back. We're good at pressing and harassing teams. I think they equally managed to do that as well, and I think it shows. The last sort of games prior to us, they'd have finished in draws, and I think it's been that open in terms of the press and the press being beaten. I think credit today for finally grinding out a result, as we've all talked about. Times wasn't pretty, But I think in terms of looking at the defence, for me, their goal was a fluke. It took a deflection. We've covered that. If it doesn't deflect, it's saved. And yeah, I wouldn't say we're massively troubled. Like, Casey mentioned afterwards, wasn't our greatest performance. But listen, we've come away with 3 points, and we've all said it is something we've not done. We've come close in previous years. It's always been a good game against Reading. A tough one. You're in a game, but I think for me, today, yeah, fair play to the defence. It wasn't pretty, but we've got the job done. And sometimes, it's gonna be like that. It's gonna be a battle, and it's gonna be scruffy, and people might get dragged, here and there. But listen, as long as they do the job and we come away with those points, you can't complain for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I think the game was a little bit harder than it needed to be. I've got to mention the referee decisions. So I don't know how you pronounce a surname. The lady that begins with L. You guys find out how to pronounce it. The defender who basically got booked.
Lena, I think it is.
Okay.
Something like that.
So yeah. So the first tackle. So obviously she was on the yellow card. She puts a tackle in, and then Galton, obviously, in my opinion, was fouled. She should have been on. She gets away with it, and then the same thing happens to Hansen. Gets away with it again. What's going on there? With how could you miss 2 decisions in the exact same area of the pitch with the exact same person? Nat, what were your thoughts on that? I mean, surely she should have been sent off.
We've seen it time and time again with these refs, and I don't think they do a good enough job protecting the players. These are professional players now. I'm not saying that Sunday League shouldn't be protected, but there's a standard that they should have, because there's a lot of money in the Super League. Teams are investing a lot. More fans, fan channels like this getting involved. People want to watch women's football, and I think just the standard of referee is dragging it down, and it's a shame because they're great games. And when Leah went down, I was heart in the mouth when we talked about Leah, and and we've even talked about Staniforth's injury. I'm not saying that should have been a card or anything. I think that was a bit unfortunate, but things like this are happening, and the players aren't getting protected, and the refs should be doing a better job. There should be a better standard of ref. I mean, Carla Ward said it last week, the Birmingham manager. It feels like we're playing against 12 players, and why? Because for me, it's just not good enough. Like you say, these girls are professional, full time. This is their livelihood. And if you get cleaned out and nothing happens, and they're allowed to stay in the pitch and they clean someone else out, why are they allowing this to happen? It's really frustrating, refs. I mean, we talk about them all the time, and they've not improved. For me, they're going backwards, and something's going to seriously go wrong, if not already. And it's a shame because these girls are great players and they deserve the best, and the FA's letting them down with the standards of ref, in my opinion.
It's just a real good job that Harry Ladd did get that winning goal, not just for Man United fans, but this will probably get washed under the carpet now. No one will probably talk about it after tonight. But if we've ended up drawing that game, I think more people would have ended up talking about the referee. And I mean, I'm not saying anything about the referee as a whole, but I just think on those 2 instances with the same player, she should have been sent off, and then that would have been down to 10 men. We could have potentially got that winner. Obviously, it's ended up okay because we've got the winner. But to me, I mean, that was just a massive talking point for me, because it was clear as day, wasn't it? It really was, yeah. I think you got something, some Twitter comments from a few guys on our tweets, our followers, who wanted to contribute tonight. Have we got a few questions that you and Ben could answer and read them?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a couple, let's have a look. Referees again, coming back to the referee, Chris Graham. A couple of other people have sort of mentioned about referees, and it kind of, there was like Natalie touched on. Obviously, Carla Ward mentioned it last week, and I put out a tweet and sort of read a discussion myself and Ben, and we did say one day, sadly, it's going to end up that somebody's either seriously hurt, which we've had today, or it's going to cost somebody massive in terms of points, and whether that could determine relegation, a trophy. And I think, Nat's touched on it. It seems to be every single season. And it's not even that we're being biased and it's a United thing. Emma Hayes has come out and said it. Carla Ward's now come out and said it. And I think it's getting to the stage now where it's not only infuriating fans, but managers and players. I mean, we've talked about, you know, the tackles on Leah. I don't know if any of you saw the one on Jackie Gronin that was just below a kneecap, and that was on the touchline. And I noticed it in the game, and from the angle of the camera, it didn't look, you know, as bad. But then there's, I think it's on 48 Hours Twitter, there's a replay, and it's literally right below the kneecap, and it studs, and it's so dangerous that, you know, that for me is a potential, you know, knee ligaments, leg breaker. And it was unpunished. The referee's actually looking at the ball, and it's given us a throw-in. And you're thinking, like, come on. We know it's difficult to referee. We get that, and we know that it needs more funding. But for me, there's just too many basics. I mean, listen, I'm not a referee. Yes, I have refereed, not at a high level. But, you know, you can't be missing basic things like that. The player safety has to be number one. You know, I think Lucy got clipped running through. Now, obviously, we don't know the injury. I've read all sorts from, you know, a few weeks to people saying things, you know, quite serious, which, you know, we probably won't find out, or, you know, won't find out at all, or won't be for a while. But I think, you know, again, you know, you're not telling me that the player's accidentally, you know, caught her. She literally sticks her leg out, and the refs just, you know, you've got to stamp things like this out. It just, like I said, it infuriates fans, and it infuriates players as well. And it's one of those now, you know, where players are getting kicked left, right, and central. You likes of Leah, you know, anyone with speed and a bit of skill now and talent, they're just being kicked out the game. And I think you've got to get a grip of the game, because the minute you let in challenges go in like that, and, you know, players think, oh, well, this is acceptable, is the minute, you know, like I say, you're gonna have a serious injury or something like that. And we only have to look back to, you know, a couple of seasons ago where we went down to Charlton, and the lack of kind of medical care. And I mean, you know, listen, that's another story, but it boils down again to, you know, Sunday getting a grip on the game and refereeing the game to a standard that's acceptable for professional league. And, you know, if we cannot get, or we don't want to fund, you know, these referees through it, then we need to be looking at referees from sort of maybe League Two, you know, and higher qualified refs. If we're not going to pay to train the refs we already have, absolutely fine. You know, go and get some refs that have maybe done the Saturday game and a free Sunday, and let's actually start now and kind of, you know, move forward. You know, we've got so many growth opportunities coming up, and we've had so many opportunities where the game has grown, and the referee, I don't know why, for whatever reason now, you know, 3 or 4 years into a fully professional league, and we've still got semi-pro refs that are just rocking up for, you know, whatever reason they're rocking up for, you know, what seems a bit of a laugh and a joke, and kind of, you know, to me does seem to kind of take away and become, you know, a bit disappointing, really.
100%, mate. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Ben, have you got any ref comments? Because I know you.
Hey, I've been banging on about this for ages. I think these referees need to be trained at the exact same standard as Premier League referees. You're talking about the top league in the country, the top women's league in the country, and yet you're using Sunday League standard referees. It's just not good enough. Do you know what? I watched that thing with Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher trying to be linesman and trying to be the referee, doing all that sort of courses. There should be training. There should be every level of referees when you referee in a professional league, even the semi-pro league, if it's the championship, if it's still half mixed semi-pro, half mixed professional. They should all be trained at very, very high standards. We should get exactly the same training as the Premier League referees. And also, Premier League referees also drop down at the Championship to referee the Championship if there's not enough Premier League games going, or vice versa. I'd love to see a Premier League official take charge of a women's Super League game, a WSL game, and then for maybe one of the actual normal WSL referees to actually watch how a professional Premier League referee would referee the game. Listen, we all know referees ain't perfect. Even the highest level, I think referees miss stuff at times. But it just baffles me how they're not getting trained, how they're not getting taught. And I think that's down on the FA, really. But I generally do think that the referee. Look, listen, the referees have got their own association thing. I can't remember what it's called. And I know the Premier League have got their own setup for referees to train. I just wondered if the FA could maybe reach out to the Premier League, just say, look, even if it's like, I don't know, twice a month or something, can we send some of our officials to come over and go through the exact same training procedures, learning procedures, and in-depth analysis from your top analysts that give all that sort of training and coaching to these Premier League referees. You want the game to grow, and you want the WSL to be not one of them, but you want it to be the biggest league, or women's league on the planet. You need to start funding referees to learn more, to develop their understanding of the game, because some of it is just absolute basic errors. It baffles me. It's like the FA say they want one thing, but they won't put in enough resource to kick the league on again on another level. And refereeing is an absolute joke.
It's just a shame that
it's like a lot of the questions here is all about the referees.
Read the next one.
Some of the ones.
Sorry, John.
Yeah, go on.
Well, I was just saying that a lot of it's all about the referees. Like, people are worried about Marty Funkhauser, what a name that is, by the way. Worried about our injured players, which is down today as well. It's all about, as you said, protecting players. It's like Monkey United down there. The refs need to protect our players more. It's all basically the same comments about the referees, to be fair. John Fry, though, does ask, though, what can we do to be more clinical? And is it because Casey was a defender, are we perhaps missing that clinical edge? That's the question. Yes, for me, I think when your best striker is out, injured, and Jess Sigworth's being out as well, in and out, she's not quite fully fit yet. We are missing that prominent number 9. Jane Ross is struggling to get in the side as well. We are missing that sort of know-how up top, that that sort of number 9 where we could play off the forward line, making them clever runs, holding up a play, bringing players in. I think it's difficult when your forward players have been out injured or for illness or whatever it may be for a length of time this season. I do think we need to be more clinical, though, to be fair. We need to take some of our chances a bit more. I think we could be a little bit more wasteful. But then again, when you're lacking your out-and-out forward players in positions, some of these players are still learning the game, for likes of Ella 2 and the likes of Lauren James. Even though even though, for example, Ella 2 is absolutely killing it at the minute, I think we do like that little clinical edge. I don't think it's because Casey was a defender. I don't think that's it at all. I just think we're missing out and out strikers. And when they're out injured, they're possibly not training, then the players you're asking to play in the forward positions can't learn off them players that usually do play in the forward positions in training. They might give them hints and tips, but when you're not there to physically see their movement, see the passing, see the shooting, see the positions they're getting into, it's a little bit hard. But I think we've done all right. I like to see it a little bit more clinical, but I think we've done all right, though, to be fair. I don't think it's because Casey was a defender. Is at all the reason why we're not clinical. I don't know about you, Matt. I don't know what you think about that, pal, but...
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I think, you only have to look at sort of last week against Villa, and, we had 30 shots. Now, I mean, for me, if that was kind of, it, like you said, it's not because we are a defensive team or because Casey was a defender. I think, listen, 30 shots tells me that, you're more than capable of creating chances, and we are. But then you look underneath that and it says shots on target 10. Now, obviously, for me, that's not really the fault of the manager. We're getting in those positions, we're creating shooting chances. That's down to the forwards. And listen, Casey can't be putting the ball in the net for them. That's down to them at the end of the day. But I think, like you said, and like I tweeted at halftime and mentioned at the start of the show, we do miss an out-and-out number 9. And, we've kind of fallen on a time where, Alessia got injured. We've come back from internationals, and Press, who would take her position, is ill. And then you look, Lauren was back last week, and now Lauren's injured. Jess has only just come back, and you think, that's pretty much most of our number 9s. And you're thinking then we've got Fuso, who's not yet made a debut. She's new to the league. So I think kind of at the minute, touching on like that injury side, we've got to make the most of what we've got. And listen, it might mean that, a couple of players are out of position. We're just going to have to go with it for the time being, But I think certainly for me, for Bristol, I would be looking, definitely, I mean, I said it today, definitely try and get Fuso in as that bit of that unknown, bit of quality. If nobody's back, why can't she have a go and kind of learn off somebody like Tobin? Get Tobin central, like I mentioned, give Fuso a go. And like some of you mentioned about resting players, no problem with that. At the end of the day, that's why we've got a squad. But I think definitely we lack clinical. And like I say, 30 shots to me, and even previous games before Villa, does tell me that we can create chances, and it's not kind of the way we set up and the way we play. It's literally that ruthless forward and kind of, being in the box and taking what chances we get. And listen, that's everyone, we've had chances today, different players, and they've all kind of, not taken them. That's just the way it is sometimes. You've got to get into them positions and at the end of the day stick the ball in the net. But that said, again, can't be too kind of what should I say, going into detail and over analysing it, because at the end of the day we're sitting top of the league. Our goals already are better than what we scored throughout the whole, well, I'll say the whole of last season until it was pulled down, so in terms of progression, which is what we're all here for, and to kind of improve each year and get better, we're looking better. And I think, I'd say, again, credit to Casey, credit to the assistant, and credit to kind of what we've brought in, that despite all these injuries, we're still sat up the top. I mean, Nat, what would you kind of say in terms of being clinical? Because I know we've spoke about this as well.
I agree. I think our very, very first season, I know it's a totally different squad, but most of them are still there. We scored about 98 goals, and nearly 100 goals. And even then in the Championship, we were saying, need to take more chances. And, I think we'll always say we should do this, you should do that. When you see a chance, you think, should have scored there, you know what I mean? And I think it just, for me, it's a mentality. It's not, like you said, it's not because Casey's defensive. She sets us out, go and attack. Obviously, you want to, the best form is attack, defend from the front. And, if you keep a clean sheet, you're more likely to win a game and all that. Fair enough. I think a defense is always solid, but she just says play it up to the top, those at top, and they will be, create and score goals. And I think by bringing in Leslie, by bringing in Toby and Kristen, and even Fuso to an extent, she saw last season we didn't score enough goals, and so she's brought in them 3 players plus Fuso, who we yet to see, to sort of rectify that. And like you say, we've doubled, or I don't know how many more, but we scored more than what we have. And that was at this point. We're only in December, and we still scored more than we scored up till March. So I think it's only going to keep getting better. We're saying Leah's coming into form. Tobin's been on form, player of the month. We're going to see Fuso hopefully these next 2 games. Leslie's coming back. Jess is fit again. Hopefully Press will play. For me, it's just positives. And I think, you see other teams in the Super League that have had lots of injuries. I mean, we've talked about it, Matt. Arsenal have a lot of injuries and they're losing games, whereas we have a lot of injuries, but you have someone like Leah playing left back because she has to. I saw her playing left back, and I saw her playing right wing, and I saw her playing thing, and we didn't have a forward today, but we still won. And I think it's that mentality, that spirit to keep pushing no matter what, no matter who comes in, whether they're in the favourite position or not, it doesn't matter. They're going to play for the best for this team and do what's right. And I listened to Toby, and she did an interview after she won that Player of the Month, and she's like, we've done all okay. There's still a lot left to go. We've got to go up the levels. And I just thought, we're sitting top, and you're talking about going up the levels. And I just thought, yes, this second half of the season, bring it on. It makes me ready for it. It makes me excited. And, fans are back now, hopefully. And I'll keep saying it, but I'm really excited for it.
Like I said at Christmas.
Yeah.
Just to finish up on that subject, so we had lots of injuries very bad this time last season, didn't we? With the break over Christmas and everything, and we struggled, and we saw a dip in form and a dip in results. This year, we've got 6 injuries, 7 now, and we've still managed to grind out that win against a decent team. And I think that's progression in itself there, because last season when we had them injuries, we ended up losing or dropping points. So I think, again, that's just another definition. It's just another description of where we move forward again. Is there any more questions, Matt, before we end the show?
We've got one that sort of talks about new signings from somebody called Sammy. He talks about signings in January, which, I mean, is not something he tends to do. But that said, I read something, I think you picked up on this as well, Nat, either yesterday or the day before, about a American defender and the possibility of a loan. Now, this kind of, I don't know, for me, I think, if we can get this in January and we can get this American defender in, then for me, I'd be going for it. I mean, Sammy talks about multiple positions, about fullbacks, forwards, etc. I think, Casey said it before, if somebody's coming in January, it's got to be elite. And I think, can we get, maybe 1 or 2 elite? It depends on kind of the American situation. But what we're talking about here is Emily Sonnet. Now, this is a player that can play centre-half and fullback. So I think for me, she's just had a loan spell from August to the end of November in Sweden. Played in a Champions League team there, one of, the top defenders in America, played at a high level all her career. And I think, again, in terms of looking at injuries that we're getting, unfortunately, it's just kind of part of the game. I think, if we can get Emily Sonnet in on loan, even January to May, that is a big upgrade. I think that kind of, we've got owner set at fullback. I think that for me is because she can play the other side. That for me is kind of the competition for Smithy, and I think if we had her and owner in the back two with obviously both Turners, I think, listen, you are looking at a massively, solid. I mean, listen, don't get me wrong, the defence, at the minute is fine, but in terms of looking at winning that league, for me, I think that signing would kind of seal it for me, because you're getting a solid player that can cover 2 positions, and why not? We seem to be doing, like we've said, okay with goals, despite forwards kind of being in and out the team in terms of injuries. But I think if we can do it, it's got to be world class. But I think in terms of signings in January, I wouldn't personally want to disrupt too much unless it is kind of that elite level, really.
One I've just heard about, Jan, and it's literally fresh today. I've just heard that we might, I don't want to say anything yet because I don't know, we might be getting a striker who was at the World Cup. So let's see. I think she was at the World Cup, yeah. Young striker, plays in NWSL. But like you say, it's all what's happening with the American League. The COVID situation over there isn't very good. And like I said, I don't know about this one yet. But let's wait and see. Casey's comments were very telling for me. Usually, like what Matt said, she comes out, she says, no, we're not doing January business. But she's come out and said, if someone's available, that's of a standard, that's of a level that you can't say no, then we'll see. So it's going to be exciting.
It wouldn't surprise me if we do get a striker if it's just on loan because of what the situation that we've got with our strikers at the moment. It might be one of those. Absolutely, yeah. So, player of the match then. Let's start with yourself, Ben. Go on, mate.
Well, Ben.
So I think he's gone on us.
What was that? Sorry, mate.
Sorry, we were just asking you for your player of the match.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, gonna have to take him out, maybe. Oh,
yeah. Can you hear us, Ben?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now. Just asking you for your player of the match today.
Leah Galton, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Hayley Ladd obviously getting an assist and a goal would be obviously another possibility. But for me, I'd go for Galton as well. Nat?
Leah, 100%, 110%.
Full house, is it, Matt?
First time we're in agreement on something. I think kind of touched on what kind of you mentioned. I think Leah. I mean, listen, Hayley's one where she doesn't. I always say she doesn't get the credit she deserves, and she has again just kind of brought that balance and had another fantastic game. But no, I think for me, just Leah just pips her to it. I think to carry on after that sort of bad knock she did to the ankle and still kind of keep you level. She, like Nat said, she's happy to defend. She can, be up and down. She's kind of everywhere, and she's just incredible. Like it literally is a pleasure to watch her. And I think we've all talked about it earlier in the show, but I think definitely just ahead of Hayley for me would be Leah for player of the match.
Awesome. And just one last bit, just for a bit of fun. Obviously, grading our performance today. I don't want to like give like scores of 1 to 10. I'm not into that kind of stuff. But as a bit of a laugh, I've got a quote going along the screen here. It's one of Casey's quotes, I think, a couple of years back regarding crawl, walk, jog, and run. If you could describe this performance, crawl being maybe below par and then gradually getting better to run being perfection, Matt, how would you kind of grade today's performance?
I'd probably say walk. I think crawl would be a little bit harsh because that would be, like you said, very below par. I mean, like we talked about, listen, it wasn't pretty, but we've done our job. We've come away with 3 points. So I think, yes, at times things, patches and sort of little bits weren't great, but there was some good stuff as well. It's not all doom and gloom. I think for me, we've always known Reading's just one of them scruffy. It's never one of these, fantastic, counter-attacking, let's get all these passes in games. It's never ever been like that. And I think what's this now? 4th, 5th time, including cups of playing them. And I think, yeah, for me, I'd go with walk. I would have liked to see a bit more clinicalness and, take chances. But that said, again, we've mentioned it. We're short on forwards. We've got the win. It wasn't pretty, but at the end of the day, I'm happy with that because I said before December came, I said the difficult ones are going to be the Reading away, Bristol at home because we slipped up last year. And obviously after an international break was Villa, and it seems whatever break we seem to have, we seem to be a little bit slow. But again, Villa wasn't great and we got the win. So for me, I think walk would be fair. It wasn't absolutely terrible. It wasn't by no means our worst performance of the season, but it wasn't kind of, it was up there. It was just a job done and a comfortable kind of, a result at the end, what's got us what we need.
Yeah. Ben, any thoughts on that one?
I'd agree with Matt. And I think you're borderlining on jog as well. I think what it's proven is that we could now stand up to teams that, if I was to describe the way Reading would play for people that haven't seen them playing, it's very reminiscent of the way Stoke City and Bolton in the Premier League used to play. Just bullish, just try and knock you about the pitch, trying to out-physically, out-muscle you. Obviously without the long balls. But I'd say top end of walk, borderline the bottom end of jog, if you know what I mean. I think that was a professional performance. Not the best we've ever seen, and by no means the worst either. I just think that's we dug our heels in and we did what we had to do. We came away with the 3 points, and that's all that matters to me. 3 points, top of the pops. Bring on the next one.
Ben, I agree with you on that one. I think Reading's not an easy team. We managed to grind out to win. We didn't win 3 or 4-0, and we didn't win a top 3 team, but we won, and it was just a solid performance. I think I just don't think it was anything special, but it was a solid win, and it was tough. So for me, yeah, I agree with yourself there, Ben. Nat, your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I'm gonna say we're at the jogging stage with that one. I think I'm not saying we're on the verge, but it was a good performance. I think the first half was a lot better than the second, but I think. Reading have taken points off Everton, off Man City, and I think they're a tough side, especially away. I think you can beat them at home, potentially, hopefully, touch wood, but away, they make it tough. They had fans back, all these kind of things play for them. And, I think the fact that we kept our nerve, we kept our cool, and we got the 3 points, what we needed to do. And, it'll just be another boost to our girls, and I think it's looking good coming into Christmas and for the start of next year. Can't wait.
100%, yeah, absolutely. And starting obviously a couple of 3 weeks' time is a new year, and hopefully we can carry on doing this, and we'll be at the stadium next week. Hopefully, if we're at the stadium next week, then we need to figure a way of doing this in the stadium somehow, or just outside the stadium. We'll have a little chat beforehand. So, guys, if you've enjoyed watching this, drop some comments. I know it won't be live, but drop some comments or drop some tweets out and just let us know what you're thinking about the show. This is our first reaction show. I thoroughly enjoyed it. These are going to be the 4 people that we're going to be chatting to the most. We will have some substitutes if I can't make it, or if Ben can't make it, or Matt or Nat, or so we'll call them game changers.
Game changers.
Not the game changers.
You'll be as good as us.
Love
We'll
it.
still change it.
But thank you guys. We've been going over 15 minutes, so we've got to shoot off. But thank you very much, Matt and Ben, and we will see you next week. Oh, socials! Don't forget the socials. Barmy Army podcast as well.
Barmy Army MUWFC. Go check it out, and all the Twitters, everyone's handles there. But Barmy Army MUWFC. Check it out. It's linked.
Yeah, soon. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, thank you guys, and we will see you soon.